So I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and I only remember the last 3 days. Um, I was in the neuro ITU for the previous days, and it transpires that an awful lot had happened in those days leading up to the last 3 days. So what I tell you is what's been told to me um, by the surgeons and by with my family, my husband predominantly, because I can't remember any of it. So here goes. So it turned out that during surgery I rocked, um, but actually in real life the surgeons, they were awesome and they saved me. It turned out that the aneurysm was a lot bigger than they thought, and instead of one clip being needed, it was 3 clips that were needed. So it was after the surgery I was unconscious quite a lot, but during the times where I wasn't unconscious I would smile a lot, and I would happily tell the nurses that this is my son Tom, and I do have a son called Tom, just in case any of you were worried. This is my lovely son Tom, and but I wasn't able to tell them that they were actually holding a pen when they asked. I couldn't tell them what day it was, where I was, which hospital I was in. According to my son, I told them I was in Huddersfield Hospital, and I'm not even sure there is a Huddersfield Hospital. So, but it got worse than that. I became increasingly unconscious, and so I had another scan, and it turned out that I was actually having a bleed in my brain, and my brain was swelling. So I was taken in for emergency surgery, whereby they stopped the bleed, and I had to have part of my skull taken away, to allow for a safer brain swelling to save me. It's actually, that's classed, both the bleed and the brain swelling is classed as life-threatening and critical, so that's why they had to take my... So they put they put my skull in, actually they tucked it in my abdomen, and they kept it there until they wanted to replace my skull again in September. So it's all very interesting, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, it was. So I had quite a dip in my head. But anyway, when I remember my last 3 days in the hospital, I remember being in a side ward. I don't recall anything really very much at all. From surgery, what I will tell you is, from surgery, I would say that to life now, that really it's like being a tight-budded orange flower. I say orange for obvious reasons, but so straight after surgery, I was tight-budded. That, what I mean by that is nothing was coming in. I wasn't getting anything. And actually there was nothing going out because I wasn't computing anything of value apart from this is my lovely son Tom. I couldn't remember how to open my bowels, I couldn't remember how to wash. I just smiled a lot. Because of where they had to cut a muscle here to get to my brain, to get to my skull, sorry. And they cut muscle, which is absolutely fine, I'm not crying about that, just to get, excuse me. And anyway, but the muscle, it has an ability to function with your jaw, and anyway, when they cut it, it created great pain when I woke. woke up, and if I wanted to open my mouth, it created enormous, sharp, terrible pain here. And of course, I say of course, but I couldn't open my mouth very wide at all, less than a centimetre. To me, I thought my mouth was open like that, but actually it was only very, very small. And when I tried to eat, I had a nose feed, but when I tried to eat, because I thought my mouth was open like that, and I thought I was putting my food in, actually I was putting my food in, and I would be feeding my t-shirt. So that was quite embarrassing. I wasn't embarrassed with my family seeing me, and I wasn't embarrassed about the staff seeing me, but I was quite embarrassed by Alex Paluzzi, the neurosurgeon, or Angelo seeing me, because before surgery I was an independent 44, beautiful woman who could eat quite nicely, thank you, and actually now looked like I could only feed my t-shirt. So I was a little bit embarrassed by that. Oh, I could feed my t-shirt, but I'd be smiling at everybody, even though my t-shirt was stained and wearing lots of food. But anyway, that aside. Excuse me, I'm just trying to. So my things that I also had issues with were just to let you know that people that do have open brain surgery for aneurysm, if, just to make you aware that the pain does go, and actually your mouth will open larger and larger. My mouth my mouth opens as wide as it can do, and it's actually quite normal now. And that was after 5 months. And my feeding habits became obviously a lot more elegant, and but the pain after about 6-7 months, the pain has gone. Only if I have a really massive yawn, it can ache a little bit afterwards, or if I press against it, which I don't tend to do. So just to reassure you, it will get better. Well, it has done for me anyway. So my balance and my speech and my memory and my understanding was all very interesting, and it has been since. But at that time, it was very interesting. Thankfully, I've got full use of my arms, my legs. I can smile. I could laugh at things which I thought was funny, which obviously reassured my husband a lot, because I found him quite funny. So I boosted his ego, I would imagine. But talking about Steve, my husband, without doubt, he was my rock, and he has been an absolute angel. And I felt quite vulnerable, safe because I was in a neuro ward, and I actually felt safe because I felt everything was going to be okay. But as soon as I saw Steve, I felt me being Deb was perfectly safe. My identity, my personal identity, was absolutely fine. If Steve went away, then I would feel vulnerable over the board. So, and I hope that makes sense. So with Steve, I felt as if my personal identity of me being me was perfectly safe. So anyway, it turned out that when I can't remember whether I told you I had a bleed. Yeah, I did tell you I had a bleed, and that's right, yes, and they took my skull away. I had a head dressing saying no bone on it, and anyway, it was and I also had a head drain. Oh my Jesus, I'm not being funny. When they took the head drain out of my head, oh God, and just the thought of it now makes me feel a bit queasy. It does. It was so painful. The pain was outrageous. It was not funny, and I don't even know why I'm laughing, because it really was not funny. And I had one anyway, I won't go there. But anyway, so when I was in the neuro ward, I would imagine there were other people having no bone head dressings on, so I felt as if I was in the right place to be boneless. But my husband Steve took me to the Costa downstairs once, just to start to make me feel a bit more normal, and that was the first time I felt that actually out of the neuro ward I was particularly frightened and vulnerable, because I was out of the specialist ward, and if I was going to have a seizure, if I was going to have a turn, if I was going to have anything that I wasn't expecting or my husband wasn't expecting, then I was out of the specialist ward. But I did have a few looks. I'm certain it was to do with my beauty and my extraordinary looks. But my husband is absolutely damn sure it's because I'm a ginger, and had nothing to do with something saying no bone on it. But I like my reasonings far better than Steve's. But I didn't really understand or accept, or so because I didn't understand it, I couldn't accept that I'd been so very unwell. And so I feel quite lucky, really. I feel quite lucky because I didn't know anything about it. So it must have been absolutely horrific for my family, who must have felt how the pain and the potential and the grief that they would obviously have felt during the time. So anyway, sorry. The bone in my abdomen, by the way, it was okay. I didn't really feel it. It's just if I sat forward, or if I leaned, or if I did something or other, I would just feel it in my. I would just feel it, and it would just remind me. And so it was actually quite nice, and it was very nice to know that actually it was part of me that was doing it. So that was quite nice. It was quite unusual but nice. And looking back, just getting ready to come home was actually that was also a bizarre experience. I remember an OT asking me to name all the animals in a farm, and I thought I did pretty amazing. I thought I did amazingly well. In fact, I thought she was going to employ me as one of her OTs, because I think I named 3 animals, and she gave me a good fair old time to think about them. And she did some other tests as well, and I think I did just as poor in those tests as I did in the farm test. But anyway, I'm walking up and down the stairs. I mean, Jesus, I had to do that to make sure that I was safe to go home. Oh my God, talking about Mrs. Soft, I didn't feel as if I had any bones in me at all. I felt so out of breath, and I thought, Jesus H, they're not going to send me home, but they did, and which I'm very thankful for. But anyway, so I was on my way home, and I can't tell you how that feels, and I can't tell you how that felt at the time. So it's on to the next stage. It's going home.